Good afternoon, everybody. It is 2 o'clock. I call to order the May 5th meeting of the Rules Committee of Jacksonville City Council. We have a full house. All 7 members of the Rules Committee are in attendance today, so I just called it to order. Let's start with introductions with Mr. Dennis on the far left side of the dais, please.
Good afternoon, Garrett Dennis, the administration.
Nayeli Jimenez, Council Research.
Carla Lopera, Office of General Counsel.
Trista Carraher, Council Auditor's Office.
Welcome back from fifth week, rather. Rockman Johnson, District 14, the West Side. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Michael Boylan, District 6.
Terrence Freeman at large, Group 1.
Nick Howland at large, Group 3.
Good afternoon. Chris Miller at large, Group 5.
Mike Gay, District 2.
Matt Carlucci at large, Group 4. Welcome.
Randy White, District 12, just visiting.
Hello, everybody. Kevin Carrico, District 4, visiting.
Ron Salem, Group 2 at large, just visiting. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, and welcome to the President, the Vice President, and the former Council President. Thank you for joining us today. We have hopefully a short agenda today. We will start with public comment, and I'm seeing we are having a whole host of them right now, and everyone, you can keep putting them in for a few more minutes. Keep in mind, you can speak on anything that's on the agenda, whether we're taking action, whether it's on second read, whether it's deferred. After public comment, we will go to the presentation on the agenda, which is by the Mayor's Office, Public Works, Public Buildings, and the OGC regarding the city's policy for keeping a firearm log at public buildings. Then we'll go into the appointments on the agenda. There's 4 of them today. And then we'll start at the top of the agenda. And for anyone who might be here on item number 6, which is 2025-0250, that is deferred at the request of the administration. We'll talk about that a little later, but you're still welcome to speak on it if you've signed up for public comment. So with that, let's go right into public comment. And let's see, everyone will have 3 minutes. The first speaker is Mr. Blake Harper, followed by Miss Ann Kirby, followed by Mr. John Scott.
Blake Harper, information on file. I have 2 things to talk about today. The first one is this appointment or the pending appointment of Elizabeth Anderson. Last week we talked about the fact that she called Tia Bess, and again, Tia Bess has authorized, has blessed me, has said I can speak on her behalf here. Okay, so you need to understand that. Called her a token. Later on, she clarifies it to say it wasn't about her, but the fact she brought her child to an event. A token is still a token, and that is the worst sort of excuse. That is bigoted, that's racist, and there's no place for somebody like that on a decision-making body within the city of Jacksonville. She has never apologized. She has never apologized. And if she were to apologize now, how genuine would that be? The reality is you all have a tenor, a tone, a level of professionalism that you expect from the people on these boards, and she fails that in the worst way. Now, let me be clear about something. My position on these issues has never changed. There is somebody who made a comment about voting for a sheriff candidate because he was the white candidate. And I called that person out. And you know who that is. Skin color has nothing to do with this. It's what you can do. It's what your heart is, what your character is. And particularly when somebody is of a skin color opposite of what you expect in terms of political persuasion, that becomes even worse. That's what we're dealing with. No remorse, no apologies, just moving forward. If anything, this is an indictment of Donna Deegan's priorities, Donna Deegan's values, but it's also an indictment of One Jacks. One Jacks is supposed to be here for diversity, equity, and inclusion. How inclusive is that to call a black woman or her child a token? Do you understand the hypocrisy of this side of the issue? The second thing I want to talk about is this nonsense about the Second Amendment. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Donna Deegan would cast this off on Lenny Curry as if it's Lenny Curry's fault. Even if that were true, that still means she willingly and they knowingly implemented a policy. That's just nonsense. But here's the other part of it. You all are here rightly standing up to defend the Second Amendment. You need to equally defend or defend equally every amendment in the Bill of Rights and every part of the Constitution, including the First Amendment at public comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Miss Ann Kirby, followed by Mr. John Scott, followed by the Honorable Melody Bolduc.
Thank you so much, council members. It's nice to be here. I just wanted to express my desire in terms of your vote for Ms. Anderson. I would like to encourage you not to vote for her. All the information that I have gathered in research about the decisions that she's made, both on the school board as well as other decisions she's made politically, would encourage me to suggest that she is not a good candidate for this position. And the fact that she has denied or defied, rather, Governor DeSantis on a number of occasions with a number of his orders would suggest to me that she's, again, not fit for this position. I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak before you.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, ma'am, I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind, come back. Just state your name and address again for the record.
Annie Kirby. My address is 2145 College Street, located in Jacksonville.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, Mr. John Scott, followed by Ms. Bolduc, Board Member Bolduc, followed by Mr. Eric Friday.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the Rules Committee. My name is John Scott. My address is on file, but I am a proud resident of the south side of Jacksonville. I am speaking today in support of agenda item number 10. This is the quote-unquote support of the resolution for the governor's efforts and his executive order to support the DOGE bill. I want to first thank Councilman, former Council President Salem, for bringing this issue to light at the local level. I read an article in the Jax Daily Record that stated that $100 million of waste, fraud, and abuse from expired and dormant programs have already been found. And this program started last month. That's simply remarkable, in my opinion, that there's that much low-hanging fruit already found. And thank you to the bill sponsor, Mr. Vice Chairman, Councilman Freeman, for supporting this resolution here today, or advancing this resolution. This is just another set of hands to be able to, and another set of eyes to use any technology necessary, but present staff. So there's not going to be the use of additional taxpayer dollars, but present staff, as the resolution on both the state and the city level clearly outlines, to be able to examine the city's budget, look for waste, fraud, and abuse, and ultimately, hopefully, return this money back to the taxpayers. And more importantly, reallocate our resources here at the local level to be able to address our core functions appropriately and fully fund them. That's really the whole reason why the government is here, is to ensure public safety, infrastructure, and as of late, making sure our trash was picked up. In any event, I again hope that you, the members of the committee, vote for agenda item number 10 today. Thank you to Councilman Salem and Councilman Freeman for supporting the measure, and I hope that it passes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Next up, Board Member Bolduc, followed by Mr. Eric Friday.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Council. My name is Melody Bolduc, and I'm speaking today as a private citizen, a parent, and someone deeply invested in the well-being of children and the integrity of our public institutions, especially those that influence young minds, like our libraries. I'm here to respectfully urge you to vote no on the confirmation of Elizabeth Anderson to the Jacksonville Public Library Board of Trustees. While I'm not here to question Ms. Anderson's intelligence or commitment, I do question her judgment, particularly when it comes to respecting parental authority and protecting children from age-inappropriate content. Her record on these matters is not speculative, it's public and well documented. Ms. Anderson has a history of promoting divisive and harmful ideologies. During her tenure on the Duval County School Board, she repeatedly aligned herself with efforts to circumvent the role of parents in education and health-related concerns. She vocally opposed common sense laws that ensured transparency and parental rights, and she championed content and policies that many in this community across the political spectrum find deeply concerning when it comes to minors. Promoting access to sexually explicit content. More troubling is her record of public trust. Ms. Anderson has demonstrated a pattern of dismissing and disparaging people who disagree with her. She once referred to a Black mother who happens to be a good friend of mine and a fellow advocate for special needs children as a token, simply because that mother spoke publicly in support of her special needs son. This kind of rhetoric is not only divisive, it's unacceptable for someone seeking a position of public trust. Additionally, Ms. Anderson violated state law as a sworn constitutional officer and was involved in legal action that misused public funds to sue her own state government, a move many found both unwise and illegally questionable. Public trust is eroded when those in leadership treat their office as a platform for activism rather than stewardship. Libraries should be places where children are safe, where parents' choices are respected, and where community values are reflected, not ignored. Ms. Anderson's record makes clear that her priorities lie elsewhere. To be clear, I don't support banning books for adults, but I do believe our public libraries should draw a firm and responsible line when it comes to what's placed in front of children. This isn't about politics, it's about principle. We need trustees who unite our community, not divide it, who listen to all voices, not just the loudest, and who put the safety and innocence of our children above personal ideology. Our city deserves leaders of integrity, people who respect the law, who protect children, and who build trust with the public. Ms. Anderson has demonstrated that she is not that person, and I respectfully submit that she should not be entrusted with influence or authority over any of our public institutions. So I respectfully ask that our mayor withdraw her appointment or that the City Council reject it. Thank you so much for all of your service.
Thank you, Board Member Bolduc. Would you mind, for the record, just stating your address or just say that it's on file because you wrote it on the card?
Yes, Melody Bolduc, address on file.
Thank you very much. All right, and finally, last speaker is Mr. Eric Friday. Name and address, please, sir.
Eric Friday, my information is on file. I am General Counsel for Florida Carry. It was one of our members that first reported this issue regarding the gun registry that has been going on in this city for we're not sure how long. We are looking for a full and complete investigation by the state attorney's office, and we are looking for this council to hold accountable anybody who engaged in this felonious conduct. And I want to make that clear to you. It is a felony to keep a list of gun owners in this state. It is a felony to keep a list of guns they own. And this city was making those records at the entrances to our public buildings. And if you didn't comply with the illegal felony gun registry, the next step was to deny citizens access to public meetings, access to public buildings, and to tell them to go home and conduct their business another day. That is not acceptable. We have laws in this state for a reason. The legislature in 1987 passed the Joe Carlucci Uniform Firearms Act to ensure that cities, counties, state agencies did not violate the Second Amendment rights of Floridians or the visitors to this state. And this city has now been caught doing just that. I look forward to the hearing from the Public Works today and finding out exactly why this happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Friday. And unless there's any other speaker cards, I don't think there are, that concludes the public comment portion. Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since my father's name was broached up there just a minute ago, I know the gentleman is well-meaning, and I appreciate his kindness towards my dad. But the the Joe Carlucci Uniform Firearms Act, what it really does is it says that all cities must abide by the same state laws, so that you can't have a stronger gun ordinance in this county than you can in that county. It's all supposed to be uniform. That's what the Joe Carlucci Act does. And of course that would imply, support of Amendment 2. But I just want to make sure it's clear that people understand exactly what that was. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I note that we were joined by Councilwoman Clark Murray. Thank you for joining us. All right, and with that, we get into the presentation that's listed at the top of the agenda. This is a presentation by the Mayor's Office, Public Works, Public Buildings, and OGC regarding the city's policy for keeping a firearm log at public buildings. So a little bit of background. We learned last week that the city has indeed been keeping a registry of individuals who lawfully carry personal firearms into City Hall and the Yates Building. We know Florida is a no registry state. Having kept a registry violates Florida Statute 790.335, and that statute carries pretty steep penalties. I asked the admin, the administration, Public Works, and OGC to voluntarily appear today to discuss this matter, since rules, in accordance with the city's charter, has responsibility for local compliance with state laws. And I'd like to invite up Mr. Fackler, if you would. While he's walking up, Mr. Fackler, thank you for appearing today. I'm mindful that there's an investigation ongoing by the state attorney and also a potential lawsuit against the city over the alleged firearm registry. So I understand the delicate position that you and city staff are in when asked to speak about this issue publicly. I'll note for the record that you inform me that both Public Works and the Mayor's Office will decline to present today. I believe that's right. On your advice, because of the fact of the ongoing investigation by the state attorney and the potential lawsuit, yet you have volunteered to be here. So thank you. Given those restrictions, I'd like to ask questions that I believe can be answered, mostly about the process and steps taken to date. And once I'm done with those questions, I'll open it up to my colleagues, both on committee and visiting today, to ask questions. So, Mr. Fackler, I saw the mayor's response to Action News Jax having been served a subpoena for firearm registries. I think they responded on Friday morning, and I want to quote it. As we stated yesterday, the city of Jacksonville has received and complied with the subpoena from the state attorney's office. Out of respect and in full cooperation with their review, we do not have further comment at this time. Can you please tell us, first of all, when the city became aware that there had been a firearm registry kept both in City Hall and the Yates Building?
Through the chair to the committee, first, if I could take a step back, I did advise Public Works and the administration to be circumspect. I didn't instruct them not to appear, but my advice was not to make comments in public because there are consequences involved if someone is found to have violated this statute. So I advised them, and I believe they are not appearing, but I did not instruct them not to come. Okay. Secondly, I want to offer each of you the ability to have a meeting with me where we can have a full discussion of how we got here. I want to be very circumspect in how we respond to these questions, as the consequences are potentially serious for the consolidated government in whole and potentially some members or employees of that. So I will be circumspect, but I do offer my time to meet with each of the 19 of you individually to make sure that answer all of your questions going forward. As to your question, we were made aware on Monday morning of the issue, and that was April 21st.
Very good. And can you tell me when the subpoenas from the state attorney were served to the city and who they were served to?
Yeah, I believe they were served the following day, and they were served upon our outside counsel, which is the Bedell Law Firm.
Okay. What specifically were the subpoenas requesting?
I have not seen a copy of the subpoena, but it's my understanding that they were documents responsive to a complaint that they had received from a citizen regarding a potential violation of the statute. The statute is 790.355.
Okay, thank you. And were those documents subject to the subpoena actually delivered to the state attorney?
Yes, that is my understanding from outside counsel.
And do you know on what day? So if the subpoena is received on the 22nd?
I believe it was the same day or the following day in the morning. I don't exactly have the time frame exactly, but very promptly, very soon thereafter.
Are you able to tell us anything about the specific documents that were transferred to the state attorney?
I was not. They were never in my possession. I never looked at them. I do not know their contents.
Okay. And I understand even if you did, you may not want to share it given the particulars of the case.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not a lawyer. You are. But by your knowledge, does the state attorney commonly issue subpoenas, and what kind of subpoenas do they issue?
Yeah, unfortunately, criminal law is not my area of expertise, but my understanding that they can issue a grand jury subpoena, they can issue investigative subpoenas. They have a great deal of discretion in gathering up evidence when they have a report of a potential violation of a state statute. So I do not believe, based on the timing, it was a grand jury subpoena. My assumption is, but again, I do not know, is an investigative subpoena.
Okay, yeah, and I concur with you that it's an investigative subpoena. I actually spoke with the state attorney this morning. They can't give me any details about it, but I said what kind of subpoena would have been issued in this case, and they said an investigative subpoena under Chapter 27 of Florida law that gives the state attorney the power and process to issue investigative subpoenas. Interestingly, they need basis for that, just like a police officer needs probable cause for a search. So generally, investigative subpoenas are only issued when there's an ongoing investigation. Okay, so whether the state's attorney will confirm it to the media publicly or not, I think we now have firmly established that there is an ongoing investigation from the state attorney into a potential firearm registry that was kept in certain city buildings, which kind of leads nicely to my next line of questioning, which is around the city hiring representation. You mentioned it before, but can you confirm, did the city hire an attorney to represent it in the matter that led to the subpoenas?
Yes, we did.
Did you hire the attorney before the subpoenas were issued or after the subpoenas were issued?
So we discussed it internally, discussed it with the administration, and then hired outside counsel. So that would have been Monday afternoon, which was before the subpoenas were issued.
Okay. Can you state again who the city hired?
Sure. It's the Bedell Law Firm.
Okay. Do you have an actual engagement letter with them?
We do not yet. We did it on the fly and in a rush due to the important consequences.
Is that sensitive, or would you be able to provide that letter?
One is forthcoming, and it will be a public record.
Okay, because I would imagine the scope of the
correct
is on there, and that might refer to firearm registry or an ongoing state attorney investigation. Okay.
Yeah, of course, the engagement letter will outline the scope of the services.
Can you talk about the scope now, or is that sensitive?
Generally, it's to defend the city based on the allegations that we heard from a citizen and our communication with the state attorney.
Okay.
And to defend the city for a violation of 790.355.
Well, I think you probably chose well, because I want to read a quote from Bedell Group's front page. Quote, "Our firm is proud to be named one of the 2025 best law firms ranked by Best Lawyers. Bedell was recognized as a Tier 1 firm in the Jacksonville metropolitan area for litigation excellence in several practice areas, ranging from commercial litigation to criminal defense." So it seems like we've hired criminal defense attorneys for the city of Jacksonville. Have we done that before?
Yes, in various other matters. In the JEA matter, my understanding is we have, and then when other independent agencies are facing criminal liability, my office is not equipped to handle criminal defense, so we routinely makes it sound like we do it very often. We do not do it very often, but when it comes up, we do retain criminal counsel, and of course, during those times, we work with a client to make sure that everyone's comfortable with who the attorney is and how we're going to process that paperwork.
Okay. For clarity, did you hire this firm to potentially defend against a state case against a city, or against one or more citizens whose names might have been on the registry suing the city?
We retain them to assist us in the full panoply, whether it's a criminal claim, whether it's a civil claim brought by the state or by an individual. We brought them in to assist us with that.
Okay. Do you know if anyone else is investigating this issue, outside of state attorney like JSO or anyone?
I have not been contacted. I have no personal knowledge of any other party or agency investigating the matter.
Okay. So there's obviously a lot of concern here on the part of OGC around this issue. Given the ongoing investigation by the state attorney, and the risk of lawsuit on behalf of those who might be on the registry, what suggestions are you going to give to the administration and to other parts of the city about communicating with media and folks moving forward?
Yeah, my recommendation, I appreciate the question, Chair Howland, is to refer questions to us, because this is a potentially significant sanctions as a result of the violation, and we will properly respond through our office or outside counsel as well.
Okay.
That would be our recommendation and our advice to you so that we don't accidentally create greater problems for us as we move forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I note that we've been joined by Councilman Peluso. I'm getting the chills, Councilman Peluso. That concludes my line of questioning. Mr. Fackler, thank you. Actually, let me ask Mr. Dennis, from the administration perspective, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
Through the chair, we do not. All questions, again, through our legal counsel, General Counsel Fackler.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll make, Mr. Fackler, thank you, and I'm sure my colleagues will have questions for you. I want to make a final comment, then turn it over to my colleagues for anything additional. But a lot of stories on this issue since Thursday have started out with council member claims, and I can understand that the media has to hedge until it has more facts and maybe multiple sources, but I think you have those now. OGC learned of these registries on the day of the subpoena, if not before. I think the day that they learned, I take that back, was on April 21st, and the subpoenas came on April 22nd. Bedell Firm was hired to represent the city on April 21st. I myself was notified by my confidential source on April 29th, a full week after the subpoenas were issued. It's likely that the source was motivated by the fact that none of this had yet come to light, and this is information that Jacksonville citizens need to know. So I spent about 48 hours doing my own diligence to ensure the allegations were real. I researched the law. I researched the contract with First Coast Security, who manages the security at each one of these buildings. I spoke with OGC, the state attorney, the property appraiser, the tax collector, members of the previous administration, even an attorney who specializes in constitutional law. When I gathered enough information to confirm conclusively that state law had been broken, in my opinion, I decided it was then time for transparency. That's when I went to the press, and press did a wonderful job of bringing this information to the people of Jacksonville. It's their role as the fourth estate. We're all representatives here of the people. I think when there are subpoenas, ongoing investigations, pending lawsuits that put taxpayers potentially on the hook for millions of dollars in claims, settlements, and damages, the people need to know. So I'll open the floor to questions. First on the queue is in Rules Committee, Mr. Carlucci, followed by Mr. Salem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I believe in the Second Amendment. I also happen to believe in the Fifth Amendment, which ensures due process. So has, in fact, the Deegan administration been found guilty of keeping a registry, and did that initiate from the Deegan administration? I'm reading a lot on X, formerly known as Twitter, and it seems like she's been found guilty before she's been allowed due process. So my question is this still being investigated, or in fact, how do we know that she is keeping this registry, and if she initiated it? I'd like to know the answers to those.
Through the chair to Councilman Carlucci, there has been no finding of guilt. That would be after a trial of some sort, at least from my perspective, as a legal matter. The investigation is ongoing, which is why I'm being very circumspect.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, my concern is this. There are times to look into things. I get it. But I don't get a feeling that this is something that she just blindly went into to enforce, to do a registry. Now, was there a bump in the road along the way? I don't know. You probably know more than I do. But I had a feeling that there was no guilt yet, because the due process of law, that pesky Amendment number 5, has not been exercised yet. And I just want to say for the record, amongst other things that I won't say now, I think it's extremely unfair to place this out as such, and it's almost like She's been proven guilty before she's had a chance to prove her innocence. And that is a great bother to me because it divides this city. It keeps us from moving together. And we will not accomplish great things in this city if we are not moving together. These are things that should be set aside. You've brought attention to it. I can't blame you for that. But these are things that should be set aside and let the process take place of. And then we might have to come in and interject our voices. I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves. And I think that we have to be careful as council members of the platform that we have. But we really have to be careful of the platform of the chairs that we sit in as chairman and chairwoman. And with that said, I don't think we're being careful with that. I think we're ahead of ourselves. And I know partisanship reigns up here. I get that. I see it. I feel it. I know it. But this is serious. And you know what? If somebody was accusing somehow you, Mr. Chairman, of something like that, I'd be the first to stick up for you. Because I believe what is fair is right. And what is right should be fair. And I do not believe in putting people behind the eight ball, particularly when they're trying to comply with the process and not say anything too quickly so the state attorney and whoever else can examine it. Mr. Fackler, through the chair, do you think that what I might be saying has credence? At least on waiting until the process to take place. You can forget all my editorial comments, but at least on the process taking place.
Through the chair to Mr. Carlucci, our position is we're going to fully cooperate with the state attorney in their investigation, and that's
and wait till it's over.
And we will cooperate and assist our client, the consolidated government, and any individuals that are involved.
I have to tell you that we got to be careful. We got a tough little mayor. And if we jump out too quick, somebody might just get a black eye from our 5 foot 5 inch tall mayor when the whole thing's said and done. There was a big to-do over her travel to London. Fizzled out like a dud fireworks. Let's be careful, Mr. Chair. I respect you so much. You've grown on me a bit lately, but this has been a bump in the road for me. Okay, and I just think fairness is fairness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlucci. I note we've been joined by Councilman Joe Carlucci. Thank you, sir, for visiting. We have two in the queue, Mr. Salem, followed by Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Chair, and let me commend you for opening this investigation and bringing this to light because it is a very, very serious issue. I think we all can agree with that. Mr. Fackler, thank you for coming. I just want to clarify a point. You said you hired outside counsel, but yet you did not review the subpoenas.
That's correct. That's correct.
I mean, that's I don't see how you could hire an outside attorney before you even understood the subpoenas and what they were looking for.
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, the issue was brought up. The allegations were serious. At that point, I engaged outside counsel.
Okay. I'm going to, I believe, I went through JEA. I think there's 5 of us here that went through JEA, and I want to note Section 5.09 of the Charter, and I'm going to read this because it's about 3 sentences. The council or any duly appointed committee of the council may make investigations into the affairs of the consolidated government and the conduct of any department, office, or agency of that consolidated government, and for this purpose may subpoena witnesses, administer oaths, take testimony, and require the production of evidence. Any person who fails or refuses to obey a lawful order issued by the exercise of these powers by the council shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and punishable by a fine of not more than $1,000 or by imprisonment of not more than 60 days or both. So we clearly have the ability to investigate this. And we did 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. And I should also mention, and have you heard from the state attorney's office, the attorney general, or any federal agency that this council should back off this investigation?
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, I have not heard any direction of that sort. No.
Okay. Throughout the JEA investigation, Council Diamond and I held a hearing in December, and there was an investigative committee that was formed, and not once did we hear from anybody not to continue our investigation of that issue. And much of the work that we did as a council, if you talk to Tyson Duva, who prosecuted the case against the senior leadership of the JEA, will tell you our work aided him tremendously in his investigation. So we have every right to be here. And I'm disappointed that the members of the administration are not here. They should be here, and if we feel compelled they should be here, we can subpoena them. I hope it doesn't come to that, but they should be here. They're required to be here. And number two, let me mention the part about subpoenas. The council, this is just a couple of sentences. The council, the Civil Service Board, the Building Codes Adjustment Board, and every other officer and agency of the consolidated government authorized by the council to conduct investigations or to hold hearings shall have the power to compel the attendance of witnesses and production of books, papers, and records pertinent to the investigation or hearing, and to administer oaths to witnesses. Any person who fails or refuses to obey a reasonable order for attendance or for the production of books and papers shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and punishable by a fine of not more than $1,000 or imprisonment for not more than 90 days or both. So we have every right to be here. We have every right to request the presence of members of the administration, and if they don't want to come, we can subpoena them. So let me make that perfectly clear. Number two, have the records of who's coming into this building and others, has that process been stopped? Mr. Fackler.
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, yes.
Who ordered it to be stopped?
That, I'd rather not get into it. I don't know exactly who either. Just know the process has been stopped.
Don't know who did it?
I am not aware. I cannot point to one person and say that person stopped it.
Okay. And you've already stated that no one has contacted you from any of the investigative agencies to suggest that this council should not continue this investigation.
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, I have not spoken personally with the Attorney General. Our outside counsel has. I'm happy to follow up with him. It is my advice that we do not conduct an investigation, at least at this present time, while we're still getting the facts around and the investigation of the state attorney is moving forward. That's my advice.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think it's very appropriate for this committee to investigate, unless we're contacted by one of those agencies, not to pursue it. As I stated, during the JEA, we went full force for almost 2 years, led by many of my colleagues that are sitting here right now, particularly Councilmember Boylan. So I urge you to re-request their presence of the administration, and if not, issue a subpoena. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salem. I agree with you that if this committee wants to, or rather this council and council president wants to set up a special investigative committee, we certainly can do that. I will also note that my request on Friday for Ms. Sickler and on behalf of Public Works and Ms. Bowling on behalf of the administration to come to today's presentation, I asked that they voluntarily I requested they voluntarily come. And the reason I did that is because I was very mindful of the gravity of the potential penalties here. I mean, if you just read 790.335, Section 4A, you note that it's a felony in the third degree and may be assessed a fine up to $5 million if the court determines that evidence shows that list, record, or registry was compiled and maintained. So this is a very serious situation, and I wanted in this early stage, early discussion, for them to choose themselves whether they wanted to come or not. But we certainly have the option to do exactly as you say. Yes, sir.
Keep in mind, we had a man trying to steal hundreds of millions of dollars from this government 5.5 years ago.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Freeman, you were on the queue. No? Okay, over to Mr. Gay, followed by Ms. Clark-Murray. And can you not get on the queue, Jimmy? Okay, I got you next, after Tyrone. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a full supporter of the due process and seeing it fully go every step that it needs to go to get the facts, because I'm a believer the unknown is worse than the known, and we've got to get to the known of what's going on here to make sure whether we do it as a council, as the charter allows, or the grand jury or the subpoenas. So I support that process as well. But I guess through the chair to Mr. Fackler, I did not know we had already hired outside counsel. Can you tell me a little bit about that process?
Sure. Through the chair to Councilman Gay, we learned of the assertions made by a citizen. We reviewed the statute. I discussed it with my deputies. We discussed it with the administration. We selected the counsel that we thought was the most appropriate and most helpful, and then we moved forward.
Right, and through the chair to Mr. Fackler, that's where I want, I guess I'm wanting a little clarity on is how you selected and how the city evidently now is contracted with another law firm. And what is the name of the law firm?
It's Bedell Law Firm.
So what was the selection process, how they were contracted?
And again, not to get into too many specifics, the penalties as read by Mr. Howland contemplate criminal and civil penalties. And so the prospect was looking for a firm that could handle both criminal and civil penalties. And so that was discussed, and this was the name that came up. And all candor, my father-in-law is with the firm, but that was not the reason we retained the firm. We retained the firm because I believe they're the best in Jacksonville to address this situation.
Okay. No further questions at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gay. Over to Ms. Clark-Murray, followed by Mr. Peluso. Mr. Peluso first, followed by Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I thought she was kind enough to do a request that I could speak. I'm sorry that it was so chilling when I walked in the room. And you know, colleagues, we should be concerned. I actually I'm a little disappointed, Chair, that you would go to the press as opposed to speaking with your colleagues and perhaps having a shade meeting with our attorney first. To that end, on July 25th, a shade meeting was held in these chambers. Do you have evidence of that, Mr. Fackler?
Through the chair to Mr. Peluso, I have no knowledge of that. It preceded my time in the GC's office.
My apologies. So this was on July 25th of 2023. This was about 3 weeks after many of us came into office. Obviously, the term for all of our offices begins on July 1. At this point, the new state law had been issued, and we had a shade meeting in this very room where the vast majority of my colleagues were in attendance, where we had police, local security, and legal counsel in here telling us about the new state law and the new procedures of what it would be like for individuals coming into this building. Right? Many of you were in the audience during that day, and we asked questions of JSO and security and our legal counsel, and I believe it was your predecessor. His name escapes me. I apologize. So this, go ahead.
If I could, I apologize for interrupting Councilman Peluso, but I do want to make clear Our security plans, I don't know if this is where you're going, but the details of those are confidential.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure we don't inadvertently cross that line today.
The point that I'm trying to make, Mr. Fackler, is we in this body sat here, the majority of us sat here, and listened to people about our security plan, about the new state law, and about what this government was going to do about it. Everyone, not a person up here made a stink about what I guess the term now is gun registry, which is not what the term then was called. It's not a gun registry. It's just not. And it's dishonest to call it that. What's happening here is truly concerning. Many of us knew exactly about this new law and knew exactly about what the City Hall was doing about it back then in 2023. All of you were sitting up here then, just like you are sitting up here now. And nobody said a word about it. I remember I was sitting in this seat during that time. So all of a sudden, for people to claim, oh wow, there's this awful registry that came out of nowhere. No. We learned about it in 2023, and none of you said anything. It's why I know that this is a total sham, and I'm very concerned about it. And I ask that if there's any notes from this meeting or presentations from this meeting, that they become made public. It's my understanding that there might not be, because it was a shade meeting that we held. Maybe not all of you were in there, but many of you were. I know many of you were. That's all I have to say about this. I'm very. Go ahead, Mr. Fackler.
Yeah. To the committee, I would again caution us to be careful about who knew what when. The statute contemplates penalties for people who knowingly and intentionally. So that's why I strongly encourage us all to meet individually and answer your questions. I'm very cautious that we're going to inadvertently say something that will lead to criminal liability or civil liability.
Understood. I will cease there. But yeah, just be mindful of that, colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Peluso. Over to Ms. Clark-Murray. Did you have anything else to add? Okay. Okay, thank you. Over to Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the chair to Mr. Fackler. Thank you for making that last statement. I was definitely going to join in on that and just said that I don't want to be guilty by association. I do want to say this, Mr. Chair, thank you for your leadership. And there's several of us up here that have sat in that seat, and it's not easy. I can reflect on my time when I was there, and I was faced with some tough decisions as well, and you're doing what's best for our city. So against popular opinion, keep pushing forward. I will add a little commentary to the London trip, because I think that was a great example of where a situation may be similar to what you're experiencing, where something was brought to you by an outside source, which we will call a constituent. This person resided in Duval County, and they asked a simple question that could not be answered at the time. And so the way to answer that question was to ask. And that's what I did. Now, people may or may not approve of how we choose to ask those questions, and that's fair. That's up to them on deciding that. But what I will say is the benefit from that question being asked was some taxpayer dollars were returned. That might not have been the comment made out in the news. That might not have been what was spread throughout, but there was money returned back to the city from that trip to the taxpayers, because one taxpayer had the courage to come forward and talk to us. Where this goes, I do believe what Councilman Carlucci was saying and several others, due process is the goal. And hopefully, in the end, our city is absolved of any wrongdoing. But if not, then there are consequences for it. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. And I see no one else on the queue. Oh, Mr. Carlucci, sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Mr. Fackler, what state statute is it? I got here a little. Is there a specific citing for that, just so I can read it?
There is 790.335.
790.335. Can you write that down for me too? All right, thanks. Oh, and I did not knowingly. Yeah, no. Definitely was not at the shade meeting. So just let the record reflect. Anyways, all right, thank you.
And
Okay.
Chair Howland, you're halfway to your JD at this point, so congratulations.
Oh, as I like to tell my doctor friend or lawyer friends, I can be a lawyer, I can read, right? Over to Dr. Johnson.
You've got to read stuff. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. I do have a couple questions and a couple of comments. I noticed that you told Councilman through the chair to the General Counsel, you said to Councilmember Salem that you did not personally review the subpoena, but clearly, as general counsel, you have lots and lots to do, and I don't expect you to. But I'm assuming that some person with legal expertise looked at the subpoena prior to engaging the law firm. Can you expound a bit on that?
And to Dr. Johnson, through the chair, the subpoena came after we engaged outside counsel. The subpoena was not the triggering event. The assertions that there was a violation of the statute is what triggered the event. The subpoena came later.
Did anyone from your office currently review, since it did come after, have they reviewed the subpoena?
Through Dr. Johnson, through the chair, we discussed it with outside counsel. We did not, I have not personally put eyes on it. No.
Okay, I know, through the chair, I understand you have not, but did someone with a JD who is barred from your office look at the subpoena?
To Dr. Johnson, through the chair, someone with a JD did, not someone from my office.
Okay, but so the outside counsel, no one from the general counsel's office. That's what I'm trying to get to. Okay. Let's see, and this is something that I take very seriously. I do want to say something, and I was trying to categorize my thoughts here. I think it's important, and prohibiting local governments from creating this firearm registry took effect on the same day that the mayor took office. And in fact, all of us, many of us on this council, took office or were reinstalled into office. And so I don't believe that the mayor personally walked in and decided that I'll create this registry. I think to imply that is really misleading. I think it's not a good thing, and it's fundamentally dishonest. But from my understanding, and again, not having sat in the big chair and at this point not really looking toward it, there are thousands of rules and procedures and things that the chief executive just does not know. And so I think to believe that there was a nefarity in coming in to create this rule, I just don't think that exists. I want to understand transparency and what we mean by transparency specifically, Mr. Chair, but I believe transparency doesn't start or stop or begin or end with unnamed sources and shadows. I believe it begins with questions, and I believe that's what we're doing here today and need to do. And when we're talking about guns, I was looking up some of the laws across this country in federal buildings and airports. When someone brings a firearm into a facility, whether it be, and according to the Department of Homeland Security, the Transportation Security Administration, and many others, the reason for a cataloging of said weapons or firearms, including knives, brought into facilities is not to create a registry, but so that there are reports so that they can understand how to continue moving forward without a breach happening. It's what's called conventional wisdom. And I believe the same applies here. I don't think, I can't say what has or hasn't happened, but I believe that the documentation, if it was done, and I still have not gotten to the end of the beginning because the statements that I've read continually say that there is not a denial or an affirmation of there being some kind of registry. We still have not gotten to that yet. But I don't believe it lies solely at the executive's office because the due diligence was probably a security company being zealous and going in and saying, we need to catalog these incidents because that is what conventional wisdom, based on not just these agencies that I named, but I've got 5 other defense agencies and or security protocol agencies that recommend cataloging incidents so that you can learn from them. So I think we cannot confuse incident documentation with registration, which weaponizes responsible governance. I'm about pursuing truth, not talking points, not hyperbole, but truth, which is why I took the time to not only look up the statute as my colleague, Councilman Carlucci, is doing, but I also want to know rationale. I always try to, even a vote that I have on this body, Mr. Chair, I always want to have a why. And I don't think we've gotten to that yet. So I'm not going to jump to a conclusion. I, like the rest of my colleagues, one, believe in the Second Amendment and believe that people should be able to protect themselves. But like Councilman Carlucci, I also believe in due process. And I don't know whether we've got to the threshold of making that before we have started to cast aspersions. I'm looking forward to the answers to the questions that are being asked. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have actually 3 more members on the queue now. Mr. Carrico, followed by Mr. Matt Carlucci, followed by Mr. Salem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't intend to speak on this subject, but I certainly do want to thank you first for bringing it to the light and having a conversation that I think is important to make sure that our city is following laws. But there were some things said by my colleague who's not here right now from Riverside about a shade meeting. I just want to set the record straight. This council did not have a shade meeting on July 23rd. We had a private meeting because of a security, more of a training that was closed to the public. Having been through a few shade meetings under President Freeman's term when we had redistricting, that's a little different of a process. We have a court reporter up there. We have to gavel out of here, go to a private room. So that didn't happen. There's a lot of media here and people don't want the wrong story to get out. So we did not have a shade meeting. We had a training. From what I can remember, all we talked about was active shooter policies and procedures for safety reasons. I don't remember any conversations about a gun registry in that meeting. So I just want to set that record straight and give my side of the story so we're not printing any false information just because one person said it. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Carrico. Over to Mr. Matt Carlucci, followed by Mr. Salem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I saw this story perhaps on Channel 4, and maybe Friday. I can't remember. I had only found out about this stuff maybe 5 hours before I watched the news. And I just want to share with you something that concerned me. They asked you a question about the whole thing, and you said, well, what we know as of now. Well, I had a couple people say, he said we, what did you know, Matt? And I said, well, I wasn't part of the we. And I'd like to know who we was. I'd like to know how this whole thing started. Where did you get your information? If we're going to be transparent, where did you get your information? Who was we? And I was never contacted about it by one-way communication that I know of. And so it hit me clear out of the blue. I get a call to try to comment on it, and my comment was simply, I don't think we should jump to conclusions, that things like this have a way of being investigated in time and in fairness. And I still believe that. But I'd like to know who we was and why we didn't all get some type of notice from the rules chair, if it in fact was you that found out this, and who did you find out this from?
Glad to answer. Thank you. Yeah, I was notified by my source who asked to remain confidential on April 29th, but it's pretty clear that this was already broached by a member of the public. We had Florida Carry indicate that someone in that organization had gone through, I believe it was at the Yates Building on Monday, April 21st, and the administration and OGC were notified on about this issue on Monday, April 21st. When I found out about it 8 days later on April 29th from that source, I spent 2 days researching to make sure that I wasn't going to bring to public something that was unfounded. And I think I mentioned that I spoke with State Attorney, First Coast Security, OGC. I researched the law. I researched the contract with First Coast Security. I spoke with the property appraiser, tax collector, members of the previous administration, even attorneys, and to verify that the facts that I had, which I then shared with the public, because we can't share information with each other that might be something that comes before us, were all accurate. And so the city learned about this on April 21st. I learned about it 8 days later on April 29th, and I went to the press on a full 10 days later on May 1st when I felt it was time for the public to know. I think if there's one lesson we could have learned, given that this puts the city in serious liability of civil and criminal penalties, the only thing I would say, I think Mr. Fackler is doing a good job of handling this and what has transpired so far. But the only thing I would have suggested is that we as a body would have been called into a shade meeting on the 22nd, I believe, when we had a city council meeting to be told about this, given that subpoenas were issued and answered by that time already. So
Thank
to me,
you.
going 10 days without the public knowing was a little bit too far.
Thank you for answering that. Now, I want to make mention of something that I read on X, formerly known as Twitter, and that was the Deegan administration has kept a registry of individuals who lawfully carry personal firearms in a city hall, a blatant violation of state law and likely the Constitution. Florida is a no registry state for a reason. Violating that law carries steep penalties. And that's my concern about jumping ahead, because that tells me your mind is made up. And that was your comment. Now, I want to go to a second. And this was from our council vice president. Mayor Deegan's blind loyalty to liberal policies ends with another law broken. First, the illegal removal of historic monuments, then misappropriation of the funds for Holodonna, wavering on illegal immigration act. What's next? Folks, this is not a part of what the Fifth Amendment spirit is. This is basically sending a signal out that we got a mayor who's breaking the law. And I have said this over and over and over again to this council. You win, I don't care. As long as it's as long as things have been done fairly. But I don't think those comments were fair. If they have been couched that this may have happened, we're not sure yet, it's going to an investigation with the state attorney, that's one thing. But these comments are divisive. And to me, as somebody who believes in the institution of this council, believes in the institution of the importance of council president and vice president, and oh, by the way, I have been both of those and enjoyed greatly successful years, magical years. But we did it, but we didn't do it with comments like this. We did it carefully and with statesmanship. And I would admonish anybody here to be careful on how you couch this. I know things are partisan. That's just it. It's partisan. I know. And you can be partisan if you want to, but when you are speaking behind the chair of any of these 19, particularly president and vice president, that's a platform. And that's a platform that carries weight. And what is said behind that platform, the weight it carries, is important as a message to the public. So I don't know what else to say. I'm disappointed, and I think these positions carry the need for more gravitas than that. Thank you.
Councilman Salem, followed by Councilman Gay, followed by Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. Mr. Fackler, through the chair to Mr. Fackler, who received the subpoenas?
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, it was someone at Bedell. I do not know what individual it was.
The subpoena went directly to the Bedell law firm, was never delivered to City Hall?
That's correct. They were our authorized representative in this matter. They were our attorney in this matter.
Walk me through that, please. So did you contact the state attorney's office and tell them, don't deliver them here, deliver them to the law firm?
And through the chair to Councilman Salem, I'll be somewhat circumspect, but those conversations were going on between our outside counsel and the state attorney.
So you instructed the state attorney not to deliver them to City Hall?
Through the chair to Councilman, I did not instruct them, no.
Who did?
I don't know that someone did. That was a conversation that I was not a part of, but I was made aware of it and the process that would be handled in going forward. And if the question came up, are we authorized to accept? And I'm not sure it did. I would have said, of course, you're authorized to accept.
So somebody in your office was having those discussions?
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, of course. It was me and at least one other deputy at all times during this time.
I assume that was Dylan.
It was Mr. Reingold was involved and Mr. Granite was involved.
Was there a reason that you did not want the subpoenas delivered to City Hall because of the look of that?
Through the chair to Mr. Allen, it was for expediency. That's it.
Okay. I find that to be very strange, and I'm glad some of my colleagues are shaking their heads. The last point that I want to make is 5.5 years ago, this council got very aggressive and went after went through a JEA investigation, pushed hard. And for you first-termers that are sitting here, we were a year younger than you. We were months into our first term. Not you. I agree with that. But some of us, I was 6 months into my first term when that was going on. Okay? I guess maybe I'm the only one here that was like that. But it was stressful, but we pushed through it, and I think this council did a tremendous job through that investigation, which uncovered a bunch of stuff. And I just want consistency. This council should be consistent, irrespective of the mayor and who was here. That was a Republican mayor. Okay? We went after a Republican administration, but it was the right thing to do. Okay? Thank you.
Over to Mr. Gay now, then Mr. Miller. Did someone drop off the queue? Dr. Johnson, do you want to go first then? Your name came off. So Dr. Johnson, then Mr. Gay, then Mr. Miller.
Just very quickly, sorry, I'm not sure what happened, Mr. Chair. All I want to say quickly is that I'm certainly looking forward to the investigation, but I don't want to get into, we're talking about constitutional amendments or what have you. I don't want us to get into, while I do appreciate decorum and the necessity of decorum and what have you, we also don't want to get involved in trying to tamper down the First Amendment. I don't want to get into trying to say that we don't have the freedom of speech to go in and say the things that they say. No secret that we're friends, and there's some of the things that have been said about you, Mr. Chair, on this dais, and I've had to take some of your courage and say, you know what, I'm in this space, I must sit here and listen to them. And I don't think they were good things about you personally. People don't know you, but they've said things about our families or what have you. There are things that you have and can say that you should be able to say. I don't want us to get into that space of telling people that we can't say certain things and infringing on the First Amendment right to free speech, whatever it may be, to whomever it may be about. Just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Mr. Gay, followed by Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm still going back to the procedure, the process seems to be when issues like this come about that a lot of us we don't find out but through the news. And to know why we're, through the chair to Mr. Fackler, I don't know if you can answer, why we're all not notified that if you knew about it before the subpoenas were issued, why are we not, as a council, being notified?
Yeah, through the chair to Councilman Gay, there are 2 points, and then I see President White is going to chime in. But first, a shade meeting was not possible. We can't have a shade meeting because there's no pending litigation, so we could not do that. The second issue, I reached out to President White, I believe it was Monday, it might have been Tuesday, to give him an update on where we were.
Yes, it was 4/22 that you reached out to me, and I knew it would get in I couldn't talk to anybody else on that at that time. Who he called or didn't call after me, I didn't know, but he did reach out to me. I'll put that on the record of 4/22, and very few details at that time, but I knew something was up, and thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you. So I wanted to let people know that he did do that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Looking back at the comments about what's on social media and X and all the different platforms out there, I wish every platform had a positive comment about me. You know, it just, people have their opinions, people have their perception. And what I see mainly on the social media platforms out there is if people don't know, they're going to make up a conclusion. And that's where they're going to pass a verdict, whether it's guilty or innocent. So I think the quicker we can get to the due diligence on this, that we'll get it all out in the open. Also, Mr. Chair, what is I know you invited the administration. Is there a way that we can actually talk with the security company to find out their procedure, exactly how they did their whatever they was instructed to do? I don't know if it's too early in that, but I think that would be pertinent as well, because I just don't want it to be like, oh, it was the security company's problem and they become the target of this. So I'd like to...
Chair Howland, if I may, I would be happy to go sit down with you, as I am with all 19 of you. I believe I can give you a little bit of context for this, and I'm happy to meet with each of you individually. And I would prefer to do that so that we kept everything confidential and keep everything that we know what we're talking. You have an opportunity to ask questions, and I can give you the background. I think that would be very helpful to each and every one of you.
Very good. I see no one else on the queue. Mr. Boylan, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Mr. Fackler, you did comment earlier on that the practice of cataloging these firearms coming into the building has stopped.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, Councilman Boylan.
I just want to reference back to Councilman Salem. Well, appropriately, he chaired the Special Investigative Committee. My focus was making certain that we didn't have this problem again. And so my interest in understanding this, and we're getting into the business of reaffirming existing laws already elsewhere, certainly an ordinance at some point in time affirming that we won't allow this practice to continue might be appropriate at some point in time too, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And no one else on the queue. Mr. Fackler, thank you so much for coming up here. I know it's a delicate situation that you kind of have to tiptoe around. One thing, I mean, I know the press is going to do some further investigation. They've seen people speak during public comment that have more information. Also, you and I talked earlier. Does the press have the ability to do a public records request of the subpoenas from the Bedell firm?
I believe so. It's not in my possession, but it's in the possession of an agent, so I believe so.
Yeah, because they can't from the state attorney due to governing Florida laws.
But excuse me, that's an off-the-cuff, non-criminal attorney response. It might be protected in some way. I don't know, but I will certainly find out.
Okay. Well, all that means is there's an ongoing state attorney investigation. There's a risk of lawsuit against the city of Jacksonville. And so I think we need to be very mindful about how we proceed in investigation. Do we set up an SIC? How do we handle this in future committees or future council? But I understand it's a very delicate situation. And thank you, Mr. Fackler, for appearing today.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, let's move to the appointments on the agenda. So we will start with, on page 3, item number 6. And that is 2025-0250, which is deferred at the request of the administration. Next, we'll go to page 6, item number 11, and that is item 2025-026 Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second, and that is the appointment of Chief King as Deputy Chief of the Fire and Rescue Department. Chief King, if you would mind come up. You got a few minutes, briefly introduce yourself. Your background, and touch on your qualifications for the role, sir. We'd appreciate that.
All right. Well, good morning, through the chair. First qualification, I've been in this position for the last 15 months. I'm originally from South Florida. After high school, I went into the military for approximately 5 years as a corpsman. After I got out of the military, I went and worked for Homeland Security with TSA for a good bit, actually. And that's where I found out about the fire service. And I say, well, there's another way that I can serve my country and serve the public. So I applied and went through the training to become a fireman. And afterwards, it took approximately 3 years for me to lock on with JFRD, which was in 2009. My first assignment was at Station 10 alongside the fire chief. When I got there, he was my ladder captain at the time. And I knew right then and there that I wanted to excel in the fire department. So I went ahead and started getting all of my certifications, my USAR, hazmat, and my 2-year degree within the first 2 years of being on the department, which made me eligible to make my way up to captain. After that, I got more certification, and within 12 years, I made district chief. After district chief, about a year and a half after that, I was appointed by the mayor, and I'm here in front of you guys now.
Thank you, Chief. We have 2 speakers in the queue, Dr. Johnson, followed by Mr. Carrico. Unless, Mr. White, you're going to... No? All right, Dr. Johnson, followed by Mr. Carrico.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I've had an opportunity to know and get to know Chief King, and obviously have co-sponsored it. But I have some questions. I don't know whether they go to Chief King or to the administration. Would you like me to wait until after? Because I've had a couple meetings with Chief King. I had some questions to ask him. He's answered those to my specifics. But I do have questions about his appointment. So I don't know that they necessarily go to him, but at your pleasure, Mr. Chair.
You want to ask Mr. Dennis?
Absolutely. So, Mr. Dennis, through the chair, thank you, Chair, for indulging me just a bit. I'm under the understanding I got this information on my desk about the time, not too long after I was elected, about Chief King. I remember seeing things come through in emails, but no official, nothing came through as to his appointment. And I want to understand what has taken this so long to get him in front of this committee. And this is not something that, Mr. Chair, have not asked Chief himself, and he didn't know. He said, hey, I'm up for it. And you're telling me you've been acting associate chief or deputy chief for 15 months. Why is it taking so long to get him confirmed?
Through the chair to Councilman Johnson, it was an oversight. And once the mayor was made aware, his appointment nomination was expedited, and he's before you today. But I can say that Deputy Chief King has been excelling in the position, and the mayor supports his appointment as the deputy fire chief.
What is the process of, and you may know this, to the council president, to the chair, I don't know whether it goes to you, Mr. Dennis, or to the council president, since you were in the fire department before, what is the process by which this appointment happens? Does it go to the administration, and is it a recommendation from the fire department to the administration, and then it comes over to the appointments office and then comes to us? Does the administration just pick somebody? What is that process? I don't know it.
Through the chair, as you know, that one of the things that the mayor wanted to do is definitely build a bench, throughout the city departments, not just in the fire department, but to have a pipeline of the next generation of leaders. And you probably remember the mayor had a press conference where she was having deputy assistant chiefs so they can learn and rise to the ranks. And so it was a lot, and unfortunately, Chief King's nomination, appointment, the paperwork through the legislative process was overlooked. But once we were made aware, we immediately put his legislation through so he could be official as the deputy fire chief.
Before I ask other questions, did the president have something to add, I think?
Does that answer your question? Or I can...
Would you mind, Mr. President?
District chief, battalion chief, the civil service, tested positions. There's 7, 8, or 9. Chief Powers can tell you, because the fire department's grown since I left 13 years ago. That is a mayor's appointees. Chief, assistant chief. In fact, that position was lost in a budget crunch several years back. That was my position. It went away for a while. And with a city this size, the mayor brought that position back. And I really don't know how it fell through the cracks, too. I was surprised because I thought we had voted it out.
I did, too, yeah.
Because he has been in the job for 15 months or 15 months. But is it 7, 8, or 9 positions now, Chief Powers, that is the mayor appointees confirmed by us? 8? 8 positions.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Chair. I will tell you, while I am, like I said, I'm co-sponsoring this legislation. I've had a couple meetings, both virtual and in the office with the chief. And I've fallen in love with the fire department. I'm really looking forward to go out with Chief Powers and doing some fun things with them. So it's kind of become a really safe space for my heart to go and hang out with the team. But I'm still confused. We keep saying that the ball is dropped and we can't figure out where it is. So I probably will, just letting you know, Mr. Dennis, I know you are very efficient with what you do, and obviously you know this side of the process intimately. I will probably be sending over more communication, which I will be more than happy to share with the committee when that comes back. But I just want to get some answers, because I just don't think it's fair that this guy has been doing the work for this time. And I do want to ask even more questions. I won't do it here for brevity and time purposes. But the question then becomes, if he was working all this time as an interim, does that affect the funds that he was getting? I know there was some rule on our side on the council where the interim would only get like a 5% bump, but it was only for a limited amount of time. There are just many questions I have. So I just wanted to say I'm going to ask and try to get the answers to those questions. But I want to thank you, Chief. You could have been, and I want to say this publicly, you could have come up and been angry about the process. You've served this country honorably. You were never angry. You were never upset, and I admire you. I admire your grit, and I look forward to the leadership that you will continue to bring with Chief Powers and other members of the fire department. We are thankful to have someone like you with your temperament and tenor in leadership with our city. Thank you.
Chair. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Over to Mr. Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to be added as a co-sponsor. First of all, I've got to know Chief King over the years to be a stand-up guy and a good public servant. I won't ask any of the questions. Dr. Johnson, the committee member, beat me to the punch. Was definitely concerned to hear that he had been in the role for 15 months and not been confirmed. It just doesn't look right. Doesn't feel right. If I was in that position, I'd probably be a little more upset. Mr. King is ice cold over there, real smooth. But yeah, there were other people at the same press conference that were confirmed. So I don't know how we just missed somebody. Screams of something else, but I don't have any evidence to support that, so I'll just say congratulations for serving in the capacity for 15 months and for finally getting confirmed. And again, please add me as a co-sponsor.
All right, over to Mr. Miller, followed by Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, I also want to be added as a co-sponsor, and I want to thank Deputy Chief King for your continued service, and as was mentioned by a colleague, your attitude, your demeanor, your personality, the way you approach matters is important as a firefighter, obviously, for very highly stressful situations, but you do that day in and day out. I've been watching, interacting with you, and you consistently conduct yourself in a professional, calm, confident manner, and I want to thank you for that, and I also want to thank you for your previous service in the military. And once you start doing that, most people don't understand the rest of your life has to be about service, or you're just not where God wants you to be. So thank you for answering that call to continue serving and for protecting us and making sure your men and women give their best to continue to protect us. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Carlucci, followed by Mr. Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have nothing to say. You and I share a good friend, and he has spoken, and I trust him impeccably, and he has told me things about you for a long time, and I want to be added as a co-sponsor, and thank you for stepping up and taking this position, and I wish you the very best in your future.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gay, followed by Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you.
And Mr. Freeman, followed by Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, would like to be added as a co-sponsor, and want to thank you for your service through the chair to Mr. King. Thank you for your service, but I send out questions to everyone, and if you don't mind, I would love just to read your response to one of them. Everything's public record, so someone can Google it or make a public records request. But when the question was, are there any challenges or opportunities you foresee in fulfilling the responsibilities of this position, and how do you plan to address them? Your response was, the biggest challenge will involve obtaining sincere and genuine feedback from JFRD personnel. Many individuals are apprehensive about speaking freely out of fear of retaliation, and this type of mindset stifles the true potential and growth of the department. It has often been said that true leadership starts from the top down, and my goal is to ensure that personnel, that their thoughts and concerns are respected and valued. JFRD can become even better today if internal customers are prioritized and treated with the same level of professionalism and concern as JFRD treats its external customers. I think that's powerful. And so I really appreciate that. And Chief Powers, the program that I know you guys run for the high schoolers coming into it, I'm a part of another organization, and their motto is what they see, they will be. So I really love seeing leadership rising with great people and great people from various walks of life. So thank you so much, and I would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Boylan, did you say something? I don't see on the queue, but add as co-sponsor, Mr. Boylan and myself, please. And Mr. Dennis, over to you.
Through the chair to Councilman Johnson, if you want to offer an amendment to retro back to when the others started, when the others came through, the administration supports that. With your, the concerns of why it took so long, to make sure that he has the time served as the deputy chief. The administration supports that.
Ms. LaPere, I think you have something to say about that.
Through the chair to the committee, you can't amend it to be a retroactive appointment.
All right. Okay, over to Council President White.
Yes, sir. I thought I was on this one. I was on the first one, but apparently, it got lost. So I would want to be back on this one also as a sponsor. Thank you.
All right. Well, that leaves me. Chief King, let me just ask real quick. Is this, has anyone filled this role between Council President White and yourself? Has it been vacant?
Through the chair, not that I'm aware
Okay,
of.
then I got one question. Is he a
Yes, sir.
tough act to follow, or is he a really easy act to follow?
Through the chair.
They could not find another one like me, and that's in a that's in a bad way, probably. I guess you're kind of like me, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Tough act to follow.
Definitely.
Thank you, Chief. All right, I see no one else in the queue. We have a motion and a second on this appointment. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your unanimous vote, 2025-06262 passes. Chief, thank you so much. Thanks for being patient, and keep up the great work. Thank you,
sir.
All right, we move next to item number 12, 2025-0263, the appointment of Mr. Delaronda to the Jack's Journey Forward Board. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Delaronda, thank you for your patience. You've been here now for an hour and a half. Sir, please give us your name, address, tell us a little bit about yourself and the interest in the role.
Bernie De La Rionda, being law enforcement or semi-law enforcement, I'm going to keep just the state attorney's office. I'll put as my address.
There you go.
For those of you that don't know me, I've been a prosecutor for 35 years. I retired, sat out a year, and now I'm back part-time as a prosecutor. I am humbled and honored that Chief Judge Lance Day asked me to be a part of the journey forward. I think it's a great cause. I, unfortunately, as a prosecutor, went out to too many murder scenes, and I saw the effect, the impact it has, not just on the person who did the crime, because that person needs to be held accountable, but on these innocent citizens and on the community at large. There are still people out there that when they hear gunfire, dive into their bathroom tub so they don't get hit. And so we need to do everything we can to address that. And part of the reason why I feel so adamant about being a prosecutor and about being involved in the community is I have the privilege of being a citizen of this great country. When I was 4 years old, I was born in Havana, Cuba, and when I was 4 years old, my parents put me on a plane and I got freedom. I came in here legally to this great country. I never saw my parents again because of Castro and all that other stuff. But I tell you that not to get your sympathy. I tell you that because this country gives everybody an opportunity to succeed. And so I would like to see the people out there in this community succeed. And so anything I can do to help them succeed, I'm here. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this country and specifically this city even better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have two members in the queue, Mr. Carlucci, followed by Mr. Boylan.
I would, through the chair, like to be added as a co-sponsor in capital letters and make sure you put Matt Carlucci before Carlucci. This is a gentleman that knew my daddy. This is a gentleman that I worked with many years ago in putting together the Ethics Commission locally here in Jacksonville. Now, back in those days, it wasn't real popular to put an Ethics Commission together, and I also had a disclosure bill that anybody on the council that was doing business with the city had to disclose that. Well, I got to tell you, both of those bills got assigned to every committee. It was a miracle it didn't get assigned to the Property Appraisal Adjustment Board or whatever it's called these days. But I got to tell you, one of my most strong and most determined help, I could have never have done that without Mr. Bernie.
Bernie's good.
I know your last name. You know that. De La Rionda. Okay. But this is one of the finest gentlemen that I know. He's a wonderful man. He's a wonderful family man. I didn't know about your parents. I'd like to hear that story sometime. But we are damn fortunate to have him to join the Jacksonville journey because this man's got a lot of other things on his plate. And when I saw he was being appointed, I almost came out of my chair. And matter of fact, I think I did a little bit, but not like I could have done 30 years ago. Anyway, thank you for serving. I don't have any questions. I know what you're made of. I know your grit. I know your determination. I know your honesty. I know your will for decency and goodness and for all of the things that we need to have in that position. And if I can ever do anything to help you, like you did to help me many years ago, please call on me. You know how to get a hold of me. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you.
All right, over to Mr. Boylan, followed by Mr. Carrico.
Thank you. Through the chair to Bernie. We had
Yes,
a
sir.
great conversation on Friday, and all that Councilman Carlucci mentioned became quickly evident to me as part of our conversation, the passion for the work that you do and what you bring to the table, our conversation about Judge Day, et cetera. But I owe you an apology. And we spoke on the phone. I said, you'll be out here 15 minutes. And here we are, an hour and 30 some odd minutes later. So you get to see how the sausage is made at this end of the building. But I do appreciate that, and I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
No apology necessary. I enjoyed the politics or the wisdom of the system.
Yeah, you see it from the prosecution.
Yes, sir.
Over to Mr. Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to be added as co-sponsor. Mr. Bernie, I never met you before, but in the 2 minutes that I listened to you talk, I was definitely inspired, and I think you'd be a great addition to the Jacksonville journey, so keep up the good work, and thank you for serving.
Thank you very much.
And over to Mr. White, Council President White.
Add me also as a co-sponsor, please.
And Mr. Freeman and myself, if you would. Mr. De La Rionda, thank you so much for your patience. Thanks for your service to your community till now, and thanks for wanting to, again, volunteer to serve your community. We truly appreciate it, and I apologize for the shade I threw on lawyers earlier today. I know that lawyers need to have more skills than just how to read. So that was hyperbole. So, sir, thank you very much for being willing to serve again.
Thank you very much.
And seeing no other speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
And by your unanimous vote, 2025-0263 passes. Thank you, sir. I should have mentioned before, you'll be brought up for final appointment during council meeting a week from tomorrow night. That's the 13th, I think it is. And you don't have to be there, but if you are, we'll recognize you during the.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for your service.
Thank you, sir. All right, we move next to page 12, item number 31. That's 2025-0300, and there's an emergency on that one. We have a motion and a second on the emergency. Ms. Carher, care to explain the emergency, please?
Through the chair to the committee, the nature of the emergency is that the Chief of Legislative Services position is currently vacant and it needs to be filled as soon as possible.
All right, I see no speakers on the queue with the emergency. Let's take this vote verbally. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against the emergency say no. The emergency passes. We have a motion and a second. Motion from Mr. Freeman, second from Mr. Miller on the bill as an emergency. Ms. Smith, if you wouldn't mind, please come up. Name, address, introduce yourself, and talk about your background for the role, please.
Name, Bernadette Smith. I am presently at 6956 Oakwood Street, Jacksonville, Florida. I have 30 plus years with the city of Jacksonville. I'm currently the office manager at the Office of General Counsel. Prior to that, I was working in legislative services. I left there as the legislative manager. Somewhat interim chief, but that's a whole nother story. I've returned. I have, oh mercy. I'm bringing to the table basically the knowledge, the experience, because when I went to legislative services, I actually started as a legislative assistant too. I moved up to the legislative manager, and when my chief was let go, I was interim for that brief period of time. So what I bring is that I have the root as well as the head experience to the table.
All right, and I see Ms. Smith, one speaker in the queue. That's Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you. Well, I want to congratulate you on this this job and this responsibility, which is huge.
Thank you, sir.
And I know you know that, and I have full confidence in you. And so I want to just congratulate you. I have no questions. I've seen what your background is. But I did want to say one other thing. It's just a side note. I want to thank Jessica, who I think was in that role, interim, until you got here. And I have watched Jessica since she came to the City Council and in legislative services, and she's been nothing but a delight to work with, as I know you will be too. And I'd like to be a named co-sponsor on the bill. Good luck. And if you need anything whatsoever, I'm around the corner from you. I've been around here a long time.
Yes, sir.
I'm happy to help you, dear.
Thank
okay?
All right, over to Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to Ms. Smith on congratulations, and I'm going to be honored to be added as a co-sponsor. It warms my heart to watch folks continue to rise in leadership, and I can just remember my many days of walking over to OGC to meet with attorneys to help me understand better legislation and move forward, and seeing your smiling face there, encouraging me as I was going through that process. So I'm going to look forward to working with you now on a greater capacity here on the council. So thank you so much.
All right, seeing no other speakers in the queue, Ms. Smith, you got the ringing endorsement of the council director as well as the personnel committee. So I think we all feel that we're in good hands in legislative services all around. We're stacked in that.
Thank you,
in
sir.
that division. So with that, seeing no other speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
And by your vote, 2025-0300 passes. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
All right, and before we start at the top of the agenda, poor Ms. Clark Murray has been waiting to get back to school, I believe. So if you wouldn't mind, turn to page 11, one page before this. Look at item number 28, and this is item 2025-0297, honoring the life and the passing of Miss Laisha Williams. We have a motion and a second. I'll turn it over to Ms. Clark Murray.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to the committee. So, Laisha Williams is a Ed White High School senior who died as a result of the injuries suffered in a hit-and-run crash earlier this school season or school year. That was last year. And graduation season is upon us very soon. And I wanted to honor Laisha and promote the legacy of the athletics and the camaraderie that she leaves behind. I don't want her just to be known as a hit-and-run fatality last year. To talk a little bit about Alasia, she was a member of the Ed White Commanders basketball team, and this year, if she had lived, she would have been the captain. And as a previous high school captain of my particular basketball team, I know what that means, to serve in that position of leadership. And then in April of 24, she led her flag football team to a Gateway Conference championship. And of course, she would have been participating in that as well. In addition to that, she was very athletics driven. She served as the manager of the volleyball team. So that means that she was doing her homework, doing her studies, doing what she needed to do to graduate, in addition to serving the athletic program at Ed White. In addition to speaking with her mom, and her mother would have been here today, but she had to work. It is just so heartfelt, and there aren't any words to express how she's feeling this graduation season, because her baby would have graduated. And not just her family, but her teammates and her classmates, they wrote letters in regards to her passing, and they talked dearly about how they are sad at her loss and how she's missed. And so that's the impetus for this resolution, and I am hoping that you will fully support it.
Thank you, Ms. Clark-Murray. Mr. Freeman, followed by Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the chair to Councilmember Clark-Murray. Thank you for bringing this forward. And your words were spot on, and her reach went even beyond Ed White. My daughter competed against her, and my third daughter is a flag football player and looked up to her. And so there was grief counseling needed at many schools around this city when that news hit the cycle. But I do have a question through the chair to Councilmember Clark-Murray. Is this something that maybe we need to have done prior to graduation and it could be presented, or will it fall into that cycle now? I think graduation is the 28, 26 for several schools. I'm not sure when it is for Ed White.
Thank you for that question through the chair to Councilmember Freeman. So it is on the track now. It's before you now. It was a 2 cycle as opposed to a 3. So it will be confirmed and voted on by the full council prior to graduation.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Carlucci, followed by Mr. Carrico.
What a great story, and anybody like that commands respect of my friend Tyrona Clark-Murray, council member. Through the chair, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor too. Thank you.
Mr. Carrico, followed by Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the chair to Ms. Clark-Murray, thank you for putting this forward. I remember when this happened, and we have a Boys and Girls Club campus at Ed White High School, so a lot of my students were touched and saddened by the tragedy, and I too received the letters and read the letters, and the raw emotion coming from the kids was a lot to process. But also moving forward, what can we as a body do to kind of prevent these things from happening? So we've also obviously had conversations with school board members. One in particular who is committed to trying to do something, and don't want to get ahead of my skis, but if this body should continue in electing me to be their leader next, definitely want to start talking about school board meetings again jointly and coming up with solutions. We can all work together, especially when it comes to the safety of our kids. So I want to be added as a co-sponsor, and thank you for putting this forward.
Mr. Miller, followed by Council President White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Councilwoman Tyrone Clark-Murray, thank you also for putting this forward. And sadly, there are other opportunities to do this as well, and I thank you for your leadership on doing that and making it not just a tragic news situation, but also something very real that touched so many lives, and we need to do this. So thank you very much for that, and thanks for everyone else for what you've added. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Council President White, followed by Dr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Tragic story. Please add me as a co-sponsor, please.
Dr. Johnson, followed by Mr. Boylan.
I firmly believe, Mr. Chair, this will be a council amendment, but I wanted to say to Councilwoman Clark Murray, when this happened, I didn't know exactly whether it was your district or mine, but I knew I was just hurt. And I ended up going to her funeral at St. Paul just to be there. I just sat there at the back, and I was devastated. And so thank you so much for bringing this forward, for honoring her and her legacy. I know during that time, to answer Vice President Carrico's question, I got with the school board member who our districts overlap, who is currently the school board chair. We've had several meetings. We had people come into the office and talk about the Project Zero, but they were talking about things that were so far down the road. We're trying to hopefully implement something that we can do specifically based on Ms. Williams, or from this unfortunate tragedy, but to do some community-related stuff. So instead of us putting those Project Zero things in place where they're like easements and other things that are going to be really kind of far down the road, working to create a public awareness campaign, pulling in the funds for that, and putting it on social media and getting the students from Douglas Anderson engaged to put it together. It's something that I think that the students themselves can use to not only honor their classmate, but for them to encourage people to do one thing that's most important: slow down and pay attention when you're driving. So again, Councilwoman Clark Murray, thank you so much for this, and I appreciate you bringing it forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Dr. Johnson. Over to Mr. Boylan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Carrico, I just wanted to follow up. On Thursday, the 24th of April, Melody Boldock and I hosted a meeting where we had, and well in advance, the principals of all the schools in our district, in my district, come together and put together presentations. And at the meeting was traffic engineering, JSO, public works, security, facilities for the school. And we were showing videos of what's taking place at the intersections around our school. And some very positive things came out of that. And when I say positive, meaning action items are coming out of that. I think it is something we want to pursue. Should we move forward with the combined meetings again, I would encourage Ms. Boldock to share what we did through that experience in engaging the principals in our schools to address sooner rather than later many of the issues that we have in terms of safety. But I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
And seeing no other speakers, Ty, this is a wonderful thing you've done to honor Alasia. Thank you. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor too. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0297 passes. Thank you again for your patience. Let's go to the top of the agenda. Item number 1 is deferred at the request of the introducer. Item number 2 is deferred at the request of the introducer. Item number 3 is deferred at the request of the mayor. Item number 4 is deferred at the request of the introducer. Item number 5 is deferred pursuant to Section 21.13 of the City Charter. Item number 6, deferred at the request of the administration. Item number 7, we entertain a motion on the bill. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Anyone like to discuss it? Bill number is 2025-0251. I see no speakers. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
And by your vote, 2025-0251 passes. We move next to item number 8. There's an amendment on this one. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Ms. Carraher.
Through the chair to the committee, the amendment will increase the appropriation amount to include the in-kind match that's being provided by JSO in the amount of $462,000 for a new appropriation total of $947,000. Will reflect correct Schedule M, which is KHA's budget references within the bill, correct some Scrivener's errors, and lastly, attach a revised Exhibit 2, which is the revised Schedule M, the 5th revised Schedule M, to include the recent appropriation by Ordinance 2025-264, which was additional summer camp funding.
All right, thank you. And I note before we vote verbally on the amendment that we have Dr. Grass and Ms. Zimmer here, if anyone has any questions on either the amendment or the bill. Seeing no speakers, let's take this vote verbally on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against say no. The amendment passes. We have a motion from Mr. Carlucci, a second from Mr. Freeman on the bill as amended. We have one speaker on the queue, and that is Dr. Johnson.
Just had a question. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I heard you say, through the chair, 462, and I just noticed this says 485. Am I missing something? I know I talked to Dr. Glass about it, but did I miss something?
Yes, through the chair to Councilmember Johnson. If you're looking at the original filed bill, it did not include the amount of the in-kind match, so we are amending the bill to add that. The amount is $462,000. The $485,000 is the $400,000 grant, and then the $85,000 match.
Okay, makes sense now. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. And seeing no other speakers in the queue, we have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Let's open the ballot and record your vote. And please add Mr. Freeman as co-sponsor.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0253 passes. We move next to the next page, page 5, item number 9, 2025-0257. We have a motion and a second on the Neighborhoods Amendment, Ms. Carrer.
Through the chair to the committee, the Neighborhoods Amendment will include language providing for a reporting allowance for employees of the Council Auditor's Office performing work during the course of an audit. This is due to Florida statutes, confidentiality laws within the statutes that provide that work papers of the Council Auditor's Office are exempt and confidential until the audit is done and the report is released.
All right, thank you. We have any speakers on the amendment? Seeing none, let's take a vote on the amendment verbally. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against say no. The amendment passes. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Would you like to go first, Mr. Miller? All right, Mr. Miller, followed by Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had quite an extensive discussion on this in neighborhoods. I don't know who was able to listen, but it was very productive in that I think we were able to explore the reasoning for this and the goodness in this bill. The Inspector General asked if I would introduce this bill, and I was happy to do that. Mainly because we want to be able to make sure we cover all city employees currently who are not covered. And it's important, I believe, on the front end to be able to encourage our employees of the city to come forward and feel comfortable coming forward to the IG with any of these matters that are listed here. But as was pointed out this morning, we want to make sure this is something that they feel comfortable doing and don't feel compelled or afraid to do, and therefore there are whistleblower protection aspects to this, but also the Inspector General office has talked this morning at neighborhoods about the importance, and also Councilman Boylan brought this up, the importance of educating. We need to have the Inspector General go out and tell everyone what are the types of things that fall into these categories that are covered. The contract mismanagement, misuse, loss exceeding $5,000, that's pretty evident. But when you get into terms like fraud, theft, bribery, and other violations, I think it's good for our employees to understand what does that all look like? What are examples of that? And so they've agreed, and there are reps from the Inspector General office if anybody would like to ask more questions, but they've agreed to the importance of that education process so that everyone understands what it is that is covered by this amendment to Code Section 602.303. So I'm also happy to answer any questions as well, but I think this is a good piece of legislation when it comes to oversight, accountability, but also making sure we all play a role in making things better for our city and making them feel comfortable going to the Inspector General with things. And some of the reports that we've seen from this current office, if this had been in place previously, I believe many of those things wouldn't have lasted as long as they did. I believe if our employees understand what things they should be reporting, they wouldn't have existed to the point where they had to do an investigation, and the problem got worse and worse in some of these situations. So I think this is a good legislation. I believe this is good legislation. And as a previous Inspector General, most organizations, this is what they have. So I don't know where the oversight was previously to only include elected officials, those public elected officials, and exclude the employees. I'm not sure why that was, but again, most organizations I'm aware of cover all of their employees. So this in effect does that if this passes through our body. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Over to Mr. Freeman, followed by Mr. Boylan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Miller, you just gave us everything that I was about to say in neighborhoods, but a little brief. One, thank you for your leadership in this. I listened to the neighborhoods. I listened to some of the tough questions that were asked, and you actually flipped a vote during that committee. I want to say someone was against it, and then after hearing how you responded to it, that this is something that is new to the city that you're bringing. And so thank you so much for bringing it forward. I look forward to supporting it if I haven't already been added. I know I asked to be added in my meeting, so I would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
And over to Mr. Boylan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I was one of those doubting Thomases this morning, seeing this as yet another affirming bill that my colleagues, like the next one we're taking up in a minute, as a matter of fact, want to move forward. But Mr. Miller and the folks from the Inspector General's office were very helpful in getting me to understand the rationale for this, and I want to support this bill, of course. And going from 0 on it to 60, I'll add me as a co-sponsor, please.
And there's no other speakers, and I'll join Mr. Boylan and Mr. Freeman as co-sponsor, please. Seeing no other speakers in the queue, we have a motion on the bill as amended and a second. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
Well done, Mr. Miller. By your vote, 2025-0257 passes. We move next to item number 10 on page 6. That's 2025-0259. There is an amendment on it. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Ms. Carrier, please explain.
Through the chair to the committee, the amendment will include a directive for the Chief of Legislative Services to forward a copy of this resolution to the Executive Office of the Governor's Department of Government Efficiency team upon its adoption.
We have one speaker on the queue. It's Matt Carlucci. Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, what do you know? Resolution. But it is the right way to express the council's intent if we indeed want the support of the governor's financial people with the current, I guess this would go hand in hand with our Duval Doge. Is that correct? Is that the idea? Through the chair to Mr. Freeman, Councilman Freeman.
One answer, please.
No, sir. Past President Salem is running Duval Doge.
Okay.
This is something that completely stands alone. Outside agency. I don't want to get into the bill, but no, this was not.
It's over everything. He looks at everything. Okay.
Yes, sir. And I'll go more into it here in a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well, I will certainly listen to what Councilman Freeman has to say, but I don't support it unless you can convince me otherwise. There are no better auditors than we have anywhere than our own city council auditors, and too many cooks spoils the broth. And we got the best doggone cooks that we could ever have. And I stand beside them. I know they're not in the middle of it. They're going to do whatever. They're going to work with whatever we ask them to do. But anyway, I suppose Mr. Freeman has good ideas on why he wants to do it, but I can't bring myself to do it unless I get convinced otherwise, for the reasons I previously stated.
Thank you, Mr. Carlucci. Before we move on, Ms. LaPera, did we vote on the amendment yet? I don't think we did.
To the chair, you have not voted on the amendment. It's been moved and seconded.
Okay, we have 4 on the queue. Councilman Boylan, Carrico, Freeman, and Johnson. Anyone on the amendment, or should we take a vote on the amendment and then get to the bill? Okay, over to Mr. Carrico.
Thank you for indulging me, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Ms. LaPera, now that President White has left the dais, am I able to participate in the vote, being that the previous legislation passed allowing the Vice President to come and participate in committees?
Through the chair, I'm pretty sure the authorization has to be in writing. I'll double check real quick during discussions, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
I'll just offer my verbal support. No need to go out of bounds. I was just wondering because I hadn't had that opportunity to do so since the bill passed.
Sounds good. I think everyone else wants to speak on the bill, so let's vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All against say no. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. I only recorded one no. Is that correct? Yep. Okay. We'll move the bill as amended. We got the motion there. Do we have a second? And we have a second. And we'll go to Mr. Freeman first, followed by Mr. Boylan, then Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my years up here have taught me to be very brief and listen and then respond. But I just basically want to share that this resolution simply is requesting a voluntary financial audit of the City of Jacksonville by DOGE, the Florida Department of Government Efficiencies. The state is a state task force that was recently established by Governor DeSantis with Executive Order 2544 to identify and eliminate waste in state and local government. So I just wanted to put out there what this is. It's asking, and it was an ask of all counties, 67, to volunteer in. With that, I will listen to my colleagues and hear what they have to say. Thank you.
All right. With that, let's go to Mr. Boylan, followed by Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a doubting Thomas on this one as well, and I think it's more the attitudinal thing. And I don't want to put Ms. Caraher in a difficult position, but I'm going to, in the context of how your office perceives the rationale or even the need for the state to come swooping in and taking a look at the work that you do. I know you're audited independently. We are audited independently. So do you if it's my mate to the chair, do you see this as an overreach on the part of the council?
Through the chair to Councilmember Boylan, our office doesn't have a position on this bill. This is a policy decision for council.
I understand, but there's got to be an emotional impact to this kind of resolution as well. I can't help but think it's going to have that impact. We just passed an ordinance, if you will, to empowering employees to deal with fraud and waste. So I think that certainly is appropriate. And to say this is not costing taxpayers, we heard a gentleman say that earlier during public comment, and the fact of the matter it is. The state dollars are being used to put together this group, this DOGE group, if you will, that the governor has put together. I wish the Inspector General had stayed, or a number of his office stayed here to ask them the same questions, to say, I guess I don't like the message, frankly, and Councilman Freeman, I'm looking for you to help me understand why you think it's warranted. Is there evidence that you've seen that says that we can't take care of our own business? I mean, we constantly harp on the prospect of the impingement upon home rule. To me, this is just another example of that, when we're turning over the authority of review to a state body. It just doesn't work for me. So I'm going to need some help in getting you to help me understand the benefit of this resolution. That's a question through the chair to Mr. Freeman.
The introducer, all right. Over to Mr. Freeman.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councilmember Boylan. I thought this would be a softball and simple. I thought that many of us, when we were out campaigning, I know for me, I've always said that I want to manage taxpayer dollars the same way I would manage my own. And if we went through each of our accounts here, none of us solely just use our accounts alone, manage it alone. Most of us, when we're going to file taxes or we're doing anything else, we're bringing in outside agencies to do so. So I do think that there's a little bit of conflict in individuals that oppose this. I've heard earlier today about politics. I've heard about partisanship. Well, then let's just talk about the language and the rhetoric that we've heard to this point. And I have an article here from earlier of a comment made, and this is coming to with the cost of it. And that's a very good point when you talk about the state payer tax dollars. And the simple response is this. Our Duval Doge identified, and it was 17 million, I thought Councilman Salem said last week so far in CIP projects and public works. I'm not quite sure, I haven't verified what the gentleman said today, but that's just 17 million that our local group coming with partnership with our auditors. So the work has been done of finding the information. What we're offering right now is volunteering in so that at the state level, there's 67 counties, those counties that opt in, and this is a conversation that I've had with some folks, in identifying best practices, identifying other areas where we do identify waste, abuse, and fraud, ways that they've been able to maybe repurpose those dollars to better serve their communities. Please note, this is voluntarily opting in and then getting recommendations. I too did go to the auditors and I got the same response back. Transparency, transparency, transparency. That's what we've heard. That's what we all believe. Here's an example for us to walk that out. And I can assure you, if you walk the streets right now, and I don't think this is a Democrat or Republican thing, and you ask the average taxpayer, do you think it's better for us to have more eyes going through our budget right now or worse? And I can assure you the greater percentage of them are going to say they support something like this. Thank you.
Mr. Boylan, you wanted to follow
Just to follow up, if I may, very quickly. Ms. Carrer, could you clarify? I've not attended the Doge meeting. I look forward to attending the next one. The savings that's been declared really isn't savings at this point in time. They've just recognized projects that are in some form of abeyance. Is that a fair assessment? So that money isn't actually been saying, no, we don't need this project, and that goes back into the general operating or back into the CIP.
Through the chair to Councilmember Boylan, I have not attended those meetings, but my understanding is that through the review of capital improvement projects, there is funding that was authorized but has not been spent, and so that's what's being identified.
But I think they're in the process now of making determination of whether or not those dollars will be spent.
That's
These are
correct.
projects that are just still in the queue that have been, unfortunately, many of them, one of them in my district, going back to the Better Jacksonville plan, is still in the queue to be finished. So it's a little disingenuous to say we've identified all the savings when we've identified dollars, and in fact. But to your point, and Councilman Freeman, I will go ahead and support your resolution based upon your latter comments. I think there is a general appreciation of our community that an extra pair of eyes is not always a bad thing. But I did want to go on record to say I don't like the doubt or the shadow that it casts on both our auditors and the Inspector General's office and the work that they do.
Through the chair to Councilman Boylan, thank you so much for sharing that. And I too shared that, and I did go talk with the auditors about it. And I looked them in the eyes because this was not a shot at anyone here. This was not a personal attack. This to me was a common sense attempt. When we talk about CIP, and you're in your second term as well, so you know this probably better than most, that there are times when projects are completed and they did not reach that estimated amount, and that has happened, and those dollars are savings. So there's 100% truth in what we're saying because those dollars are not always brought to the attention of the council, and out of fear of breaching confidence that I've had in some discussions that I've had with city workers, and one who no longer works with the city, who's basically a whistleblower, I guess, and has given me some more opportunities to go look. There are numerous opportunities for us to discover monies and dollars that we can turn around and repurpose to better our community. Thank you.
All right, over to Dr. Johnson, followed by Mr. Carlucci.
I have a question, I think, for the auditors through the chair. This is interesting to me. So it's very interesting that we bring it up. You said there's a $17 million, I know this is not the Doge Committee, but it gets to the point. There's a $17 million savings? That's what Ron said. There was $17 million savings. What it seems, though, but from what you said, and I want to make an analogy here, if on my American Express that I have an opportunity, that I have a $100,000 credit limit, but I only spend $10,000, I didn't just find $90,000 in savings. I just didn't spend the money that was there. Am I incorrect in that? That's kind of the analogy that I'm hearing. But no, I guess it's more to the auditors. Or I see Philip is here as well. That's not lost money. You're like creating stuff, right?
Mr. Peterson, yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Peterson.
Can you hear? There we go. Through the chair to the committee. So the DOGE committee that is being chaired by Councilmember Salem is going through capital projects that have not had dollars spent over some time period. I believe it started initially within the last 18 months. It has expanded a little bit beyond that. And so there's been a $90 million number that has been thrown out of funds that have, projects that have funding that have not had anything spent on them. And I can't remember because I'm not working on the specific project, but whether it's 12 months or 18 months, that's $90 million. As to the savings question from Councilmember Johnson, a lot of our capital projects are funded by debt, and we don't borrow those funds until the project has had spending. The prior administration always said, if it ain't spent, it ain't lent. So we don't borrow dollars until we spend them. So in a sense where a capital project was debt funded, if we didn't spend those dollars, that's not savings, it's just unused debt capacity. Now, there are instances where we fund projects with PAYGO. And if we fund a project with PAYGO, and each project stands on its own, if we fund a project with PAYGO and we don't need those dollars can be repurposed to another project, pulled back into reserves if they came from general fund. There's a number of different instances that can be used them. In that case, those dollars would be savings and be able to be repurposed for another purpose.
I hear you on the repurposing. I don't think I agree with you when it comes to savings. It just doesn't seem to be savings because, again, I go back to my American Express example, not to debate, I just want to put that on the record. I go back to the Amex example. If I have a $100,000 limit and I spend 10, I do have $90,000 I can do stuff with. That doesn't necessarily mean I've saved $90,000. Just want to put that out there. All right, let me say this. I appreciate the spirit of why former Council President Freeman is bringing this forward. I think I wish I could get behind this, but I have said the same thing in our initial DOGE meetings. I haven't been to the DOGE meetings. I have watched some of them, but I understand that Duval County, kind of, I guess, ahead of its time, has had a DOGE task force since 1968. It's called the Jacksonville City Council. And so between the work of the auditors, between the work of the council, between the work of the finance committee, I believe that this is it seems to be government inefficiency to bring back work that we're already doing in redundancy anyway. So if I saw something that spoke differently from that, I would certainly give it another look-see, but in the work that I've done, I just don't think I can support it, and I hope that my colleagues will look closer and deeper to understand that this is what inefficiency really looks like. Thank you.
Mr. Carlucci, followed by Mr. Gay. Back to introducer, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I heard the word partisanship come up. That has nothing to do with my feelings about this at all. This saving money and accountability, that's nonpartisan. My concern, frankly, is with home rule continuing to slip away from Jack to the members of our delegation, both Republican and Democrat. I don't give a damn which one they are, but what I am saying, I am tired of seeing our local control slip away. It slipped away with the Ethics Commission. They about abolished it. They keep getting into our business, and I am just so I'm a little leery of it. If it passes and they come, congratulations to the author of the bill. That's fine. But the biggest thing is I have always I've had two maxims, and a lot of you have come and spoken with me at my council office and when preparing to run, and I've always said two things. Not all of you, but a few have said two things to me. How do I know I'm on the right track, and what should I use as my guide? And I tell them every time, my maxim is to stick clearly and closely to the council auditors and stick closely and clearly to the general counsel's office, because this is not a full-time job that we have. It is, but it isn't, you know. But I'm tired of home rules slipping away, and I just want our auditors, who I have 150% confidence in, to continue doing their job. And oh, by the way, they played such a huge role in letting the JEA get sold before we found out about the luxury retirement program that, you know, came along. They just are the best in the business. And because they're so good, they are independent in the charter. They were declared independent in the charter probably about 25 years ago, because at one point, councils and mayor's offices wanted to maybe mostly mayor's offices back in those days wanted to water down their capabilities, and they were made in the charter to be independent, and that was for a good reason. So if you vote yes, we'll all be best friends, but this is not my cup of tea. Thank you.
Mr. and Philip, don't let your heads grow too big from all that praise. Over to Mr. Gay and then Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am on the DOGE committee, and kind to relate what we're doing is we're identifying. It is not a committee that's making any decisions and votes to cut anything. It is identifying where possible savings can be, and to bring it back to the council finance committee at that appropriate time for full analysis. But when we have our CIP projects and we approve them, that takes a block of money and reserves it that can't be used anywhere else. This is going in, and we have identified, been brought to our attention, like $91 million, that some of the projects have been sitting there for 10 years and have not had money spent on it. And so it's bringing that into perspective. What's the problems? What is it going to be spent? Is it, you know, reality that the project will come to pass? And is asking those tough questions that haven't been asked. And projects that have been finished, that there's a surplus amount sitting there about how can we get that money put back into the city general fund. Some have restrictions that come from grants, and you know exactly what is the process of getting it back into the availability to use those funds. And so it's been very purposeful that we've been able to identify a lot of this. Moving forward, we'll be able to, reaching out to all the council districts members to see which projects are pertinent that they want to see done, and that some of them they might not even knew about. And so I think it's very helpful, and we'll eventually be able to go into other areas that's been brought to the attention. But no, it's not making a decision to cut any legislation is going to be done there, is bringing an awareness and to be able to us get the information that we need to function efficiently as a council. And so I'm glad to be on it, and I feel like it's going to be very pertinent. And then with the state, this recommendation to the state to come in, is yes, we have our local. Me and my business, I have a local license board I have to deal with, but I also have to deal with the state license board. So there's different levels that I always have, that we have to deal with. And so another set of eyes is never bad. And so I look to support this and based on those principles. Thank you.
All right, over to Mr. Freeman.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll close with this one. And Dr. Johnson left the room. Loved this example, and that was a great example. And for those watching as well, about how our CIP process works. And I leaned over and I'm like, everybody was right in that conversation, because there's multiple ways that it is paid for, and how it's paid for will determine if you classify it as savings or just debt that you could use or leverage, but you chose not to. Councilmember Carlucci, thank you so much for your comments with home rule, and definitely that is the discussion that always takes place. I think about the right-of-way easements and all those conversations in my first year here with the cell phone towers. But you mentioned going to the auditors and OGC, and I would offer that there's another group that I always go to when I'm dealing with big issues, and that's also the ethics department. And so I think there are three things that I would encourage any of you all as you're investigating legislation that might be somewhat deemed controversial. But I will just simply close with this. This is common sense. To me, it's just common sense. If you oppose it, that is your right to, but you're opposing more so the optics, and I get it. Today's world, everything is driven by optics. It's driven from the media, and then the narrative shifts, and it becomes whatever the tone is of that day. I reflect back on my past lived experiences, and I had colleagues as a former professional baseball player that mentored me and encouraged me to not only have a CPA, but to have a tax attorney. We all were friends, but I asked him, why then do I need to pay for a tax attorney when I have a CPA? And he said, Terrence, sometimes commas can drop or decimals can move as an accident, a clerical error, a little error, but those over the course of years and course of time adds up to a lot of money. None of us up here are perfect. In my world, there was only one person that walked on this earth that was perfect. And so that's why I knew that the auditors would not come out and necessarily have an issue with it, because if somebody wants to come in and audit the auditors, they're confident in their work that they do. But if there is a mistake, it benefits our citizens. Simple as that. And so for me, I stand strongly on it. I ask all of you to join in on this, because at the end of the day, and Councilmember Gay said it, they come back with recommendations. And this is where I land with home rule. We have the final say still. So if you read the resolution and if you followed it, you understand that this does not hold Duval County accountable for doing anything that is brought back to us. It merely brings back recommendations. And what I love is recommendations that I think are impacting our state as a whole, where we might be able to gain some better insight on some issues. Ask for your support. My last time speaking, so thank you so much.
All right, we have Mr. Miller on the queue. Before we do, Ms. LaPera, you have some information on the point of order that Mr. Carrico, Vice President Carrico, brought up.
Yeah, through the chair to the committee and to Council Vice President Carrico. So he had asked a question about his ability to serve in an ex officio capacity on this committee, and Council Rule 2.211 does allow that. It requires, though, the council president authorize the council vice president to appear in an ex officio capacity and make that request at least 1 hour before the published start time of the meeting and in writing. It also must be for the entire meeting. So, and the council vice president and president can't appear at the same meeting in an ex officio capacity. So he was here earlier voting. That would have precluded the council vice president from also serving as an ex officio member today.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Over to Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, I'm going to support this resolution, and mainly because I believe more eyes on things affords us better opportunities to see more ways for us to become more effective and efficient in our city, serving our constituents. And I've seen it through the current IG office folks. I've seen it through our auditors. Every time we ask for some research, every time we ask for some support, there's something else that many people say they had no idea was going on, or they had no idea that project, nothing had happened, but $4 million had been encumbered for 10 years. When you hear things like that, I suggest we look at it as a positive way to improve things, to make things better, because they are constituent dollars. And so any set of eyes, any assistance, and I haven't talked with the auditors about this, but if we, any type of effort, if we do this right, and I'm sure we would make sure we did, that they don't step on our auditors' toes, but they enhance the work they're already doing. I think this has the potential to just give us more opportunities to make things better. So I'm going to be supporting this, and I thank you for bringing it up, Councilman Freeman. And I get the reluctance that's been expressed, but having been an Inspector General for years with the Army and Department of Defense, I was always looking for ways to make things better. And if anybody else could come alongside that effort to improve things, I'm all for it. And I think the way we look at this and approach it is important as well. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other speakers in the queue, we have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Five yeas, 2 nays.
By your vote of 5-2, 2025-0259 passes. We've taken action on item number 11 and 12. The following items are on second read: 2025-0266, 0275, 0276, 0277, 0282, 0284, 0285, 0287, and 0288, which brings us to item number 22, 2025-0290. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing no speakers on the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote. And please add Mr. Matt Carlucci as a co-sponsor.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0290 passes. We move next to item number 23, 2025-0292. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing one speaker on the queue, that is Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to be added as co-sponsor, please. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other speakers on the queue, let's open the ballot. Record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0292 passes. We move next to item number 24, which is on second read. That's 0293. Item number 25 for action, 2025-0294. We have a motion and a second on the bill. That's kind of why I figured JEA is here. Mr. Gay would like to be added as co-sponsor, same with Mr. Miller and myself. And Mr. Freeman. All right. No speakers on the queue unless you want to talk. No. Let's open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0294 passes. We move next to item number 26, 2025-0295. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing no speakers on the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote. Mr. Freeman and Boylan would like to be added as co-sponsors.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your vote, 2025-0295 passes. Move next to item number 27, 2025-0296. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Seeing no speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote. Yep. Me as well, and to the previous one, 0295. Thank you. All right, we've taken action on item number 28. We move to number 29, which is going to be the final action on... Oh, sorry, did we not vote on it?
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Sorry. And by your vote, 2025-0296 passes. I was too excited to get to item number 29, which is 2025-0298.
Move it.
We have a motion and a second on the bill. We have one speaker on the queue. That is Dr. Johnson.
Mr. Chair, I just was excited. I'm a big basketball fan. You know, in my mind, I'm 7'4", and I play on some NBA team. I'm a retired NBA player, but I still get out there and play basketball a couple times a week at my gym. But I was so excited to see what UF did with this victory, and I thought I was the first one to jump in, which I was, but there was a bevy of people reaching out to research saying, we want a resolution. So I'm excited to have been the first one. But thank you, colleagues, for jumping on board because we're bringing UF to Jacksonville.
You got it.
And I haven't made a decision. I'm not putting that out there yet on what we're going to do on the business stuff. But I'm just really excited to see these young people bring a claim to our state. Congratulations, Gators. Go Gator.
All right, well said, Dr. Johnson. Over to Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have been at it already, but for the record, let it be known that I am a diehard Florida State fan.
There you go.
So because this is Florida, and it's a team from Florida, I am honored to support their great efforts and wish them all the best, except for when they play Florida State.
There you go. All right. And seeing no other speakers in the queue, I'll just add that I'm excited about this resolution because of our growing strategic relationship and partnership with UF, but also because the historic season that resulted in a national championship started here in Jacksonville when UF did its opener against USF in the fall. So, yep. It's exciting that we kicked off the historic season that resulted in one of the best national championship runs I've ever seen as an avid college basketball fan. So, seeing no other speakers in the queue, let's open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by your vote, 2025-0298 passes. Go Gators. And we go next to item number 30, 2025-0299 is on second read. We've taken up number 31. The following final three bills are on second read, 2025-0301, 0302, and 0303. One thing before we adjourn, Dr. Johnson, you had a comment on the Chief King bill.
I do, and thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Chair. As there was a question that came up during our discussion about Chief King, thank you, Mr. Dennis, for even bringing up that idea from the administration. We were able to look and find out that it was correct, that we can backdate, not the pay, but we can certainly retroact the position in place. I will be making a floor amendment to that on council nights. Just wanted to put that on the record. Thank all of the team from General Counsel's office, from the mayor's office, all of us for the work we have done. And again, most importantly, thank you, Chief King, for your temperament in this process.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Over to Mr. Carlucci for a comment, and then we'll open up to anyone else on committee or staff.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to first of all say that the solid waste fee that we passed a while back, I think 12-7, if I'm not mistaken, was first phase. And what that bill did was it set the rate to be proposed, and it authorized the mayor's office to send out notifications to all those taxpayers who pay garbage fees, solid waste fees. I'm trying to change the name, solid waste fees. And, so those notices are close to going out, just in case you get a comment from a constituent. The other thing is that that bill also will be calling for 2 public hearings, one on the 13th of this month, and then one on the 27th of this month, where we will hear anybody from the public that would like to speak to it. And then after that, a vote will be taken. So I just wanted to give everybody a little heads up that might, there's been advertisements in the newspaper. And I reemphasize this to you, so in case somebody, wonders if, how we've handled this. Again, I took this to all the CPACs. I did not cajole them one way or the other. I just read them the facts. And I took it to a couple of business organizations and spoke to them. I got no pushback and nothing but encouragement and or soft support. But this is a $40 to $45 million vote, and I hope we'll all keep that in mind as it comes up. But I have to tell you, I would have never have believed in my whole life that I would propose a solid waste fee, and I think the way it happened was because we took it to the people. But I still get people stop me in Winn-Dixie, Publix, gas station, City Hall, wherever. Thanks for fixing that garbage fee. That was a great thing. And I'm like, I would have never guessed that. But that's going to be critical in our budget hearings. And I want to thank the council members that had the courage to step up and vote for that and hold on to the rope because this is not about short-term politics. This is about long-term statesmanship for the betterment of our community and keeping us from heading to a $500 million deficit just within our own internal finances. So I hope we can all support it when it comes back up. If you don't, that's okay, as long as I keep my 12 votes. And so thank you very much. I just want everybody to know thank you.
All right, any other comments from committee or staff before we adjourn? Seeing none, I got one thing. You know, we're responsible for, during our term here and council year, the Rules Committee for the Boards and Commissions review. We, last month, made a final agreement on several boards and commissions. There was 1 or 2 action items. Next Rules Committee meeting, we'll have the legislation for all of us to look through, and then that'll be introduced by, I believe, the legislation submission deadline of May 21st, and that will come to us by in June committee, and then for final vote by full council on June 24th. So we will have been met our requirements as a committee. So you should see that 2 weeks from today. All right. Anything else? With that, we are adjourned.